Hello.
Hey,
How are you doing? How are you doing?
I am good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Glad that you took the time out your day to hop on here with us and talk about some more real life things.
Listen, thanks for
Um,
having me.
hey, no problem, no problem. For those just joining, mostly Carly, this is for your group because your group doesn't know what goes on what's happening, the live. Um, we are here. We talk about what's happening, obviously. What's happening in the world, what's going on in the world, everything's a topic here. Um, for people just joining as well, we do a raffle at the end of every month. So you have now, if you're watching, have the opportunity to join in a raffle that we do every month. The way to enter in that raffle is buy a badge. Level one gets you one entry, level two gets you two entries, level three gets you three entries. So with that being said, we have the Miss Carli Jay here today with us.
Hey.
A very interesting story. And I'm glad that you're on here because it's a little more realistic than some of the people that I have on here sometimes. So how's life been since the pandemic with
Wow. Well, it seems like it's been forever. Like it seems like it's gone quick at the same time, but it's been like a whole year now.
Right. In
Like
a couple
let
weeks it'll be a year.
Yeah, literally. I remember I was actually in LA this time last year, flying back to the UK, and like
Mm.
as I came back, everything started shutting down. I was like, "What's going on?"
You
So
know, it's interesting that it all started with just wash your hands.
yeah.
And now it's like can't go outside your house, got to be inside your house at a certain time.
So
So
yeah,
that's interesting.
London is still like that. So I'm currently in the UK in London, and we have been in lockdown for months. Like
Wow.
we have just been given like a roadmap out of lockdown. It goes until June, like slowly reopening things. And I don't get me started on the UK and the way it is. But yeah, we have a light at the end of the tunnel, and I can't wait to get back to things. But I hope it's, if anything, that it's taught people stuff about life's too short, time, what do you do with your life? So I hope, if anything, I know it's been a really negative scenario, but I hope, if anything, we take some positives out of it.
Correct, correct. What is one thing that the pandemic has taught you?
I live my life a lot like this anyway, but it's that things can be taken from you in a heartbeat. So if there's something you want to do in life, don't put it off. Tomorrow is never promised. Life is not a dress rehearsal. We aren't coming back. So if there's something you've always been wanting to do with your life, just bloody go and do it.
Right, right.
But I live my life like that a lot anyway, but it's really emphasized it for me.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I think I took the same thing from it, as well as, your my grandparents used to always tell me, outside isn't going anywhere. You don't have to worry about it. Now look at outside. I can't go
Yeah,
out there.
outside
So,
gone.
right. So now I do have quite a bit different outlook. I also want to ask you too, with the pandemic, a lot of us have struggled with certain things that you have, I guess, not mastered, but I'll say you have the blueprint to it,
Yeah.
and you can, give advice. We're going to touch on some stuff later, but that I'm about to mention now with your book and being a advisor, a mentor, and all that. But working out, dieting, all that has been kind of different for people during the pandemic because their routines are kind of messed up. The gyms aren't as open.
Yeah.
They can't go out to eat as much. Maybe a lot of people like to eat out, now weren't so much, in-house cookers. What has that affected you at all? And for the advice of those that it has affected, what are you giving for them?
So no, I'm quite like a never have an excuse for anything kind of person. I
Mm.
can make, I can make the most out of any situation life throws at me. So no gym, no problem. I'm outside, I'm exercising. Because I always take things back to basics. Like if you don't have a gym, it's okay. Don't get me wrong, I'm a gym queen. I absolutely
Hmm.
love it in there. But I have been still doing 2 or 3 hours of exercise every day, more for my mental health and my well-being.
Hmm.
And for me, it's all about what is exercise? What is it doing for us? It's helping our bodies, it's moving, it's burning calories. So you can do that in other ways. And it's always about thinking outside the box. Like if life puts limitations on you, you can always find solutions. So I'm a big believer in that. Like don't ever take no for an answer in the world. You can always find another way to do something. Like when there's a will, there's a way.
Mm-hmm.
So through all the gyms being closed, you know, we have a beautiful world out there still that hasn't technically been taken for us. We're still allowed to go out for walks. You can exercise. You can move in your lounge room. You know, I'm a big basketball fan. I watch NBA games every morning in my lounge room while I'm working out. You know, there's no excuse. I think we can all still move our bodies, and it doesn't matter in which way you do it, as long as you're moving, you know, you're getting your cardiovascular system going. So I do a lot of that, but then also eating. Like I do actually like cooking at home a lot. I'm not really fussed by like I love a good restaurant, but I'm quite a homebody in the sense I do love to cook. So you know, it's probably been hard for people though, working at home. You want to snack, you want to eat, you want to, you know, it's easy just to go to the fridge and be distracted. But so, you know, it is about sort of control and thinking, what do you want, keeping your body healthy, especially in times like this as a pandemic. But like I said, when you want something bad enough, I find you know, it's all the mental aspect. If you want it, you can have it.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah.
And I totally agree with you. And you know, sometimes doing something, the hardest thing when you're doing something is to start it. So start doing it correctly. If you want to do with anything, but especially with working out or dieting or anything. But what advice would you give to those people that struggle just starting to do something? So the person that's, well, I was going to start working out, but you know, I'm a little tired today, so I'm not going to do it. And then tomorrow turns into next week, and then next week turns into, well, New Year's resolution. I'll do it on New Year's resolution. Or, okay, I'll do it when my friend does it. I just need a workout partner to hold me accountable.
So I get these questions a lot, and everything you've just said, like people always come to me, and I talk about it a lot in my book that I've written about my whole journey of health and weight loss. And for that's the most popular question I ever get. Oh, how do I start? And often I find that people that ask that, they know deep down inside how to start. It's almost like they feel they want someone to tell them or do it for them. And the easiest thing, I'm quite sarcastic and realistic with my answers. Like I don't sugarcoat anything. So I always say to people, the easiest way to start for me was I got up off the sofa, off my bum, and I put one foot in front of the other. It's not rocket science.
Right.
Like to start any wellness journey, to get healthy, to lose weight, to put on weight, whatever your body goal is, you physically have to get up. And your day one doesn't have to be running a marathon or running an hour or lifting the heaviest weights in the gym. It is about getting up and just making the decision to change. So whether you do 20 minutes of exercise, 30 minutes, 40, or you have one healthier meal that day, like that is you starting. And I think people overcomplicate things. Like it doesn't have to be complicated. It is just the decision to get up and put one foot in front of the other. Go for a 15-minute walk if that's something you don't usually do. So for me, I get people always saying, oh, I don't want to do this, or my friend wants to go to the gym. If you don't want to go to the gym because that's not your thing, don't go just because your friend wants you to. Because if you do that, you'll start to resent it. You'll start to make excuses not to go. So I always say to people, find things that you enjoy. And I always say, go back to being a child. What was the activity that you loved doing or your parents could never pull you in from outside from doing because you enjoyed it? If that's your thing and that's moving your body, go and do that activity, because in your mind, it's not a chore. It's not being forced to do it. It actually feels like a hobby. So like any type of sport you did as a kid or playing with your friends or whatever, dancing, whatever it might be, choose that as your activity and you'll end up sticking to it. You'll enjoy it more. You'll become healthier. You'll become better at it. And that way you're not going to give up on something you actually like. Whereas if it's your friend wanting to do something, eventually you're like, oh, I can't be bothered to go. I'm not enjoying it. But, you know, even if something you think you'll start to enjoy with your friend, by all means, give it a go. But you've got to want to do something for you. It can't be for your husband, for your wife, for your children, your parents telling you. You've got to find your internal trigger to want to get healthy. And that was what made me lose all my weight and like go on my big health journey. Was a trigger for myself that made me want to get up and change my life.
Okay. Because I was just about to ask you, what was your trigger? When was it that you realized in your head, like, okay, Carli, get it together, get up off of this couch and let's get to work?
So I had like a few little like subconscious things, like almost slapping me in the head saying, Carli, you need to do something. And for anyone on today that doesn't know my story, I lost 10 stone, so 63 kilos in 2 years. I've got my book here. I'll show you guys in a sec.
Yes, yes, we need to get into that.
Well, I'll show you now so you guys know what it is. So this was me.
And now that is
now
you.
This is me. So yeah, I lost 10 stone, 63 kilos in 2 years. And I was morbidly obese my whole life, but I was happy. I lived life. I had amazing friends. I partied. I was never self-conscious. I was like, girl, you're big, you're fat, so what? Go enjoy your life. But it was one morning, actually 7 years ago, in 2014, in March, I woke up one day and I felt paralyzed. I could not move. I was like, oh my God, what is wrong with me? What's wrong? As I started to wake up and roll over, it was like a trapped nerve. Like, you know, when you sleep on your arm at night or something and you get numb. I had literally a dead side of my body. I had a trapped nerve, and the weight of me, like I had numbness all down the side of my body. And so literally that day I was like, Carli, I don't know if I can swear on here or not. Is it PG?
Yes, this is an uncut, unfiltered.
I literally was like, girl, get the fuck out of bed and move your body. So that's why my slogan is always about move your body. I was literally like slapping myself, get up. And that day for me, I started and I've never stopped. Like I've never given up. But that was my trigger. I needed to change my life. I knew I was big. I was overweight. I was obese. I had been my entire life. But I didn't care to do anything about it. But the day I did was the day I never stopped. So you have to find your internal motivation. And that day I got up and did 15 minutes of exercise. And I hadn't done exercise in years.
Yeah. And that was a start.
That was it. That was my start. Like, stop drinking, stop smoking, stop partying, you know, change the whole food that I ate. Eventually now I've gone from 15 minutes of exercise a day up to almost 3 hours. And I love it. Like I struggle not to exercise. So,
wow. So now you went from not exercising at all to now if you don't exercise, you don't really feel right.
I don't. In the morning, I wake up like 5 a.m. here in the UK naturally. And by 7, I'm craving exercise. Like I have to move. I have to do something. Right. And that's actually my rest time to me. Like it sounds crazy, but when I exercise, it's me relaxing. It's me resting. It's my thing.
Like a safe haven. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like my respite. Exactly. So if I don't get that in a day, I almost feel a bit bizarre. Like my body doesn't feel right. I feel tired.
Yeah. Groggy. Sluggish.
Yeah. I feel hungover almost.
Yeah. I mean, I can relate a little bit. Me being an athlete and working out as much as I do, some days you're like, man, you know, you're trying to relax, rest the body. And you're like, but I think I've rested enough. I just feel like I need to move and do something. I'm glad you're sharing this because a lot of people are saying they're inspired in the comments. And that's always a great thing when, you know, you can touch somebody else's life. That's a great thing, I think, that people underestimate that you can do. With that being said, what was your biggest challenge throughout your journey? I mean, you're still on your journey, all of us are. But what was your biggest challenge when you started, and now what is your biggest challenge now up until this day?
Yeah. My biggest challenge, I think, would have to have been unlearning everything I had been taught or grew into habit as a child. And that's a very, very hard thing to correct. I started my journey when I was 28 to lose weight, and I'm now 35. And at 28 years old, I almost had to literally go, wow, I need to unteach myself everything.
Deprogram everything.
Like every single habit you have, whether it be snacking in the car, whether it be some sort of comfort food you always go to, or you know, literally, I had to change my entire life of eating habits, exercise, mentality. I was always really still a positive person, and I was very motivated and independent, luckily. But it was literally to unlearn and reteach myself as a 28-year-old. And I think sometimes to do that, you actually have to maybe remove some people from your life. You might have to change your lifestyle. You may have to choose and change your friends, because not everyone in your life is always good for you. And I'm a big believer in that, and I speak quite honestly about it, that some people are inhabit your habits. They help, they nurture it. They almost feel comfortable with your bad habits because they know they don't have to change.
Right.
And that's often when you are starting to be successful or starting to rise up in your life, there are certain people that aren't going to come on your journey with you. And you have to be prepared to leave them if you're going to level up.
Right.
And that could be family members, anyone toxic in your life. And you need to almost like center yourself and go back to scratch. So that was probably the biggest challenge, but it was also the biggest reward in a way, because it made me a different person. It made me more stronger, powerful in terms of mentality and everything like that. But then even today, like you said, that the challenges today is that any weight loss journey or putting on weight or growing muscle or whatever type of body journey you want to go on, there is no finish. There is no finish line. And just like you said, I'm still on my journey. I will be on my journey till the day I die, in a way. Because when I did the 10-stone weight loss, everyone said to me, "Oh, you're done now. Is it over?" And I was like, "No, I'm still alive. This is not over." So for me, it was a thing that once you hit a goal, it's almost like, okay, what's next?
What's next? Exactly.
And you have to realize that in life, when you want to change your life and get healthy and lose weight, it is not about the weight. It is about changing your lifestyle. And that is a permanent thing you have to keep up. And that's often where people fail and put on back the weight, or they go back to an old lifestyle. They start drinking and partying again, or whatever it might be. So you have to remember that this is for you, and it's an ongoing thing to change your life. Not just like a number on a scale or a time frame, or you have to really stick at it, and it does take work. But I feel we are given one life, we're given one body. Work at it. It's the only home you effectively have.
You said something very, very interesting, and I think it's something that not just in a weight loss, but in life in general, but like surrounding yourself with the right people.
Yeah.
Is such a big thing when you're trying to accomplish something. Anytime you're trying to accomplish something, everybody knows that you can't bring everybody. Everybody's not meant for the ride you're going on. So that is very key. I think that might be the number one advice I would give to someone if they're trying to accomplish something. Make sure your support group or whoever's around you is not just there for the ride. They're there to support the ride.
Yeah.
So that is a big point that you made up. And a lot of people are putting questions in this question box too, Carli. We'll get to that at the end. Though.
Okay.
We'll open up a Q&A session for you at the end. Let's talk about your book.
Okay.
Because you have that there with you.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about some other little hot takes and topics. When you wrote the book, first of all, had you ever wrote a book before?
No. And funny enough, I was horrendous at English class at school. And my teacher used to say I would never, obviously English is my first language, but I was really bad at spelling, grammar.
Right.
I was a really bad reader. I didn't like books. And my English teacher at school, pretty much said to me, "Oh, you're good at maths, but English will never be your strong point, in terms of writing."
Take that.
And I want to send her a signed copy and be like, "Bitch, look at me now." But it's probably got,
you should.
It's probably got spelling mistakes in it, but I don't care.
It's my journey.
But this is my point about whatever you want to do in life. You never have to stay in your own lane. Only stay in your own lane when you want to focus on something yourself. But if there's something you want to do in life, I never in a million years could have imagined I would be a published author worldwide in over 40 countries. I was shocked myself. Thank you.
I need to get a button that says applause.
Yeah. roll up.
Right.
But to be fair, to this day, I still spell things wrong. My grammar is atrocious. I think I've got a mild form of dyslexia. But this is my point. It doesn't matter. If you want to do something in life, you can do it. And I went to town writing this book. And I even talk in the end of my book about taking my own advice. And if there's something you want to do in life, just go and do it. I Googled how to get a publisher. The internet is a wonderful place to find out anything.
Right.
And people always say to me, "How did you do it? How did you write?" I said, "I got my laptop out and I started typing."
Not rocket science either.
But it's as simple as that. And now I'm working on something else. I'm working on more of a a funny sort of book about dating that I want to make into a TV series. So it's made me now want to write more. So for me, yeah, it's opened up doors in terms of writing. So never be scared to try something that is out of your realm or something that you never thought you'd do. You just never know where it might lead you. And so I'm a big believer in whatever comes your way in life, or whatever thoughts you imagine, follow them, go, you know, you're thinking them for a reason. Like if you have an idea and go, oh, I really want to do this, do it. Like we said at the start, life is too short.
Right.
So yeah, if you have a thought about something,
It's a fast ride, a quick ride.
Yeah, that's it.
Your book, is it broken down in chapters? Is it broken down in part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4? Give us the breakdown of it, and then I personally want to ask some questions about your book, and if some things are in there or some questions are in there that I would ask. So
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
So my book is a biography. So it's about my whole life. And I do break it down into my childhood and where I think a lot of my habits of eating and things come from, and things you're taught from parents, especially relationship with food. Like I guess our generation, maybe older school parents, like you had to eat everything on your plate. You know, you're told there's starving children in this world, you know, eat, eat, eat. So my book sort of, it sets the scene and then it goes through my life. My childhood years, my teenage years, where I was really rebellious. I was into drugs. I was into street racing cars. You know, I lost my license for street racing. I was, this is why I joke that I'm like an old lady now, because I was crazy. So my teenage years were rebellious as hell.
Rock star.
I was this girl that looked innocent, but I was not
Rock out.
So it's all in my book. Like I talk very openly about drugs, partying, street racing. I talk about all my teenage years and how big I was compared to my friends. And then I go into my 20s where I actually, obviously I'm from Australia. I left Australia and I went backpacking the world. And I traveled 25 countries in 7 months to get from Australia to the UK.
Wow.
And I did that big. I literally traveled with one bag of clothes. And I arrived in the UK with probably about $150 for anyone, or £100. And I arrived here with one bag of clothes and I made a life for myself in the UK. And I got even bigger here in the UK. And then it was in 2014 that I made the decision to lose the weight. And I went on this whole weight loss journey. My life changed. My career changed. My health changed. I wrote the book. And now I'm in the process of, you know, I've started a whole business through it, and I'm moving to LA this year to sort of, yeah.
Nice.
I thought if I could move to the UK with £100, I'm going to survive in LA.
Easily. I mean, you backpacked there, you hiked. So, I mean, that in itself was probably showed you how powerful you are as a human being, and just in general. When you're talking about your childhood and building eating habits and all that, a lot of people eat the way they do because of how their parents cooked. Because when you're a young age, you don't have really much say-so in what mom or dad or grandma or grandpa puts on the table. So as a child, what was your favorite food?
So you're very correct in what you just said, because I also grew up in a foodie family. My dad is French, my mum is English. They were in the food business, so we were always cooking. And funny enough, I loved healthy food as well. But
really?
I ate huge portions. I was served adult-sized portions. So my favorite food of a child was actually like steak and potatoes, or like creamy potatoes, steak. Mum used to make amazing pasta. My parents made really French things, lots of butter, lots of flavor. So I am a white girl that can cook with flavor and seasoning.
Oh, okay. Nice.
I'm not your stereotypical person that can't cook without flavor.
Did you have a sweet tooth growing up?
Yeah, so I did as well. Besides like loving like big meals and savory stuff, I did have quite a sweet tooth. I loved things like biscuits and cake. Like my dad used to eat biscuits for breakfast. So that habit, like he's French, so we'd have pastries, biscuits. Like I remember we'd always have biscuits and things for breakfast.
And that was normal. That was your normal.
But that's what I saw as my parents. But we did have a lot of healthy things as well, don't get me wrong, because in my book I didn't want to completely like blame my mother or anything. But we did eat a lot of good food as well. Like we did a lot of seafood, a lot of nice salads, vegetables. I loved fruit. I have not gone a day in this world without eating a piece of fruit. Like I absolutely love it. I love things like nuts.
Favorite fruit right now. Think about it.
Huh?
Favorite fruit right now. Don't think
Mangoes.
about it. Mango. Oh, I love mangoes. Awesome.
But you got to get yourself a box of Australian mangoes. Best on earth.
I've actually been to. I stayed in Australia for about 5 months.
Oh, where were you?
I was in Brisbane.
Oh, I'm Sydney.
Brisbane in like Rockhampton area, like right up in there.
Yeah.
So
Sydney.
I know about those mangoes.
Yeah. So, I had almost like an everything tooth. Like there was nothing I do not like. You put something in front of me, I'd want to try it, I'd want to eat it. And I had almost no threshold for feeling full. I could just eat like a bottomless pit. To this day, I've had to control how much I eat because I still sometimes don't feel full. I had to almost teach myself that. So yeah, it was like growing up, I loved everything. It was just my problem was not just the food, it was the size I was eating and the calories per day as a child. Yeah.
Sometimes I don't feel full either, and I'll eat until I just get the itis, is what they say, to get sleepy. And that's something I've worked on recently here, maybe the last 2 or 3 years. I make sure I limit my portion size.
Yeah.
But I mean, as a child, when you're hungry and you're not feeling full, you're going to keep eating. That's just, you have no wherewithal or like, you have no radar or anything telling you like, I need to stop eating now. It's like my body's saying I'm hungry. I must be a growing child. So let me just keep eating.
And I was quite active. Like we did a lot of sports in Australia, typical Australian. So I did do a lot of sports growing up, swimming, rowing, tennis, like netball, basketball. Like I did a lot of activity, but I was still eating a lot. And having also European parents, my dad used to always love making us have siestas in the afternoon. So we'd have mid-afternoon naps when most children were out playing. I was like, who does that?
I mean, I think everybody takes naps in the US.
No, but like my dad is very French, that they have siestas. You must know in Europe, like places actually close down for the afternoon so they can go home and have a sleep.
They come back at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, so we used to actually be pulled inside from playing to go and have afternoon naps. And I was like, what? What is this?
What was one of your favorite sports or hobbies to do? Because earlier you said go back to your childhood and find what you like to do, so it's not like you're really working out. It's like you have a hobby that you're exercising with. What was that one thing that they had to pull you in the house from?
Mine would have been swimming, like anything to do with water sports, beach. Obviously, I grew up in Australia. I'm a beach baby. Most people in Australia or in Sydney do have some form of water near them, whether it be beach or pools. It's very common for most people to have that. So I loved being out in the sun, swimming, you know, just even playing outside, like with your neighbors and things like that. And then as I got into school years, we were doing a lot of more sports in schools and things like netball and that I absolutely loved. So yeah, anything out playing that was almost like a distraction, like something to do. So I was quite a move, like I liked to move as a child, doing things as well.
Oh, okay. I tried playing netball when I was in Australia. It's a little different from basketball. I thought I was going to be very good initially. Not so much.
No.
I take a lot of close range shots in netball compared to basketball.
Yeah, netball you do. You take a lot more. Like you're not
there.
Yeah.
underneath the rim almost. I can't make it unless I'm nearly under the rim.
It is now looking back, now that I know a lot more about basketball as I got older, looking back at netball, and like it's such a funny thing if you've played both to shoot in both, because you look silly doing it. Like you can't get your like proper shot going.
The arc is the toughest thing because, like you said, it's no backboard.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. I'm gonna ask you a funny question. This you've probably never been asked at the end here too.
Okay,
Um,
all right.
um, just this is what we do on the live here. We
I
just
like it.
um, your rock star years. You talked about cars and drag racing. What is your favorite car?
Um, so I'll go now these days. If I had all the money in the world, my
Mhm.
favorite is McLaren. Like I love McLaren.
It's still like a little speed.
I love speed, adrenaline, anything. I love racing. But going back to my teenage years, I was a massive Japanese fan. So thinking like, your Fast and the Furious kind of movie.
Tokyo Drift and all that.
I drove a Nissan S14 200SX
Oh,
SR20
okay.
turbo. I had it but in Australia, we're very big on our Japanese cars or our Australian muscle cars, like your V8s and
Mhm.
V6s. So the street racing scene in Australia back in, I'm talking like 2000 or like even 98 to like 2006. It was really about Japanese cars, and we'd go out street racing like scenes from Fast and the Furious and Tokyo Drift and all that. Like proper
Could you
industrial
drift?
estate,
Could you drift?
industrial estates. People would be starting the races. Like we saw some horrendous crashes from it. Like they've got a lot more rules and regulations in Australia now because of it. But yeah, that was my second car, a Nissan 14 200SX SR20 turbo as like an 18-year-old. So
What's the fastest you've ever went in the Nissan?
oh god, I can't even. Oh, god, it probably would have been like 160, 180. And I'm saying kilometers, not miles.
Yeah.
Um, we did have track days and things where you'd put your car on the dyno, see how quick it would go. We did have legal races as well, where you could take
Okay.
your car to the track and do a quarter mile. So it was.
I should have put
Probably,
race car driver in your bio as well.
yeah.
You should do that. Just throw it in
Do
there.
you know what? I sort of regret never following it through and doing more with it, because like women in sports these days, back then it was all about men driving. So again, that thing where you were never taught that's something you could be.
Right.
I wish I that would be like almost my wish.
That's
Like,
your alter ego kind of
yeah,
life,
I
right?
would love to be an F1 driver. Like that's like my ultimate. Like if I could go back and be anything in the world for a day, oh hell yeah, I'd be an F1 driver.
NASCAR. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I've never experienced that side, but I've always, it's cool to watch it. Just I know it's an adrenaline rush for the people inside the car. You, for example, you've been inside that cockpit or that driver's seat.
Yeah.
And man, I know when I have my own car and I'm just going 85 miles per hour down the highway, it feels like I'm just flying by everybody. So I can only
Listen,
imagine doing some of the things.
now that you're in Europe, we should go to Germany, go to the Nürburgring.
Autobahn? Is that like where the
Yeah,
Autobahn is?
so the Autobahn is like the highway where there's no
Right.
restrictions. I've
Right.
been down that, but the Nürburgring is the actual racetrack in Germany where you can take cars around it. You can do. It's like we've got Silverstone here in the UK.
Okay.
But hell, yeah, if you ever want to do a track day, I'd happily go.
Yes, we need to
Yeah.
do that for
Let's
sure.
do it.
We need to. We'll schedule that. We'll figure something out. Even with the pandemic, we'll just socially distance ourselves out there.
Listen, you can just hire a car and drive down
Right.
the
Awesome.
Autobahn in Germany, but the Nürburgring would be dope.
Awesome. Okay, back on the book. All right,
Yeah.
now that that's part one with the childhood. Part two, we just joked around with this drag racing thing. But in the later years or now of what in your biography compared to your book, what was the biggest food change that you made?
So in my book, I do talk about the later years of my life as well, and about changing habits and maintenance, and how, like, once I tell you about my life, I then tell you about my weight loss and how I did it. So in there, I do talk a lot about changing my habits of food and also playing around with trial and error. So sometimes it does take you a while to figure out what is right for you, what's going to be best, and it does depend on your goal. But I did go vegan for a year. More so to see how my body responded, and I loved it and absolutely felt amazing. I had so much energy. I felt so good. My internal system felt amazing. I didn't feel bloated. I did sort of go off it for a while in 2018, and I noticed how sluggish I started to feel again. And don't get me wrong, I love meat. That's the unfortunate. I could eat ribeye steak for breakfast every day of the week. But my body does not feel good when I eat it. So you really have to tune into yourself and figure out what foods you respond to best. What is good for you? So after I came off the vegan thing, I then went back to it. But I do sort of what I live an 80% plant-based life. Okay. So I do still have steak maybe once a month. I love salmon and white fish. So I maybe have that once a week or once a fortnight. And I do still have eggs. But everything else in my life is plant-based. Okay. I make a lot of my own cakes or sweets. If I'm craving something, I tend to make them because I find them better for you as plant-based products and ingredients. I actually now thoroughly enjoy like vegan mince and even vegan bacon. Like I actually love it. Once you adjust your taste buds to things, I would say my top tip is don't change all your food groups overnight. Your body won't like it. You'll give up.
Go into shock and everything, right?
Change things slowly. And I would say start with sugar. Change your sugars to plant-based sugars. Stop having processed sugars. Stop having processed foods. Change those things first. I love cheese, but when I eat a lot of cheese, I don't feel good. Like I feel being plant-based, my skin is better, my hair is better. Like I said, my stomach, everything feels a lot better. I feel full of energy. So that was probably the biggest thing I changed from being a huge meat eater or animal products. Like we grew up, as I said, Dad being French, we ate so much cheese and things and cream and butter growing up. So yeah, now I would say that is my biggest thing. But I love it. I'm so happy I did it.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing because I think maybe not everyone, but a large percentage of people love the things that taste good. And what does taste good? Heavy butter, heavy cream, fats, sugars. And I think we don't realize how much of that we eat until we try to make a change. And then we make that change. And it's like, I don't like this. So me personally, I don't eat red meat at all anymore. I've done it for about 3 years, but I eat lots of seafood and I still eat chicken. But vegan snacks are surprisingly tasty.
Oh, I love them.
But a lot of people always hear vegan and they're like, oh no, I can't. This
is my problem with the word vegan. It sounds really wanky, and everyone hates it. You say the word vegan, you think of like millennials and hippies.
Bland.
So this is why I say plant-based. It sounds nice, but I don't like the word vegan for a lot of the connotations and stereotypes attached to it. I say that I live a plant-based life. And I do it for health reasons. I know there's a lot of animal reasons. Don't get me wrong, what they do to animals, I do agree with that. But initially I did do it more to do with like how my body responded. But there'll always be certain food groups you find easier to give up. Like maybe red meat was yours. Mine was chicken. I don't care if I never eat chicken again in my life. Or pork, I'm not fussed by it. Lamb, I might have once a year. But yeah, so you'll always find groups that are easier for you to give up. Like some people might not be fussed by dairy. I'm fine. There's so many. To be fair, the UK is amazing for plant-based alternatives. We have the biggest select. I know America is quite good in some places. Yes. But in the UK is just amazing. Like you can find things and I've cooked for people and they did not even know it was plant-based. Like I've made kebabs for people, spaghetti. We have these barbecue ribs that they're obviously plant-based and you would never know. So
you tell them before or after, like, hey.
I've done both. Like I've said to some friends, look, try it and let me know what you think. And they're shocked. Or some people I've not told them. They're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I'm like, it's not me. But especially with cakes and things as well. Like when you tell someone, if you go down to your local coffee shop or to your supermarket and you have a slice of cake, that slice of cake could be about 600 to 700 calories. That's like 1/3 of a woman's daily calorie allowance. If you make your own, it could be about 250 to 300. So this is what I'm saying to people. You don't have to give up everything. Be smart about what you're having in your own food. And that's why I cook a lot. I like to make my own things because it's better for me. It's less calories, so I can have more food and fuel in a day that you are fuller. If you were only allowed to have store-bought food, you probably wouldn't eat as much because it's got more calories in it because they want to preserve it. They want to leave it on the shelf for longer. If you make food yourself at home, I guarantee you can eat more because you've got less calories in the food you're making.
Right.
Store-bought stuff, they do it for flavor. So they're going to add more butter, more oil, more salt,
more sugar, yes.
But if you make it at home, it is so much better for you. So you can have your cake and eat it too.
Right.
No, literally, you could have
I have always wondered who made it up, for one, and two, it doesn't make sense. But in a recent, do you watch like serial killer documentaries?
Yeah, all women do.
Yeah, that's like how y'all relax. Like y'all put that on before going to bed. And,
you've seen that meme.
right. But we've been saying one of the ones with the I guess the bomber that was bombing people through the mail, the bomber. He is the only person that said it correctly throughout his letters, and that's how they called him eventually. That's how the documentary says it. But the saying "you can't have your cake and eat it too" is I think it was said wrong according to how we say it. And like you said, you can have your cake.
You can have your cake and eat it too. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just a sidebar.
But yeah, so I get it. It's the thing that people don't realize. You don't have to cut out everything. You don't have to be so restrictive. I absolutely hate the word diet. Yeah. Diet means to try something for 3 weeks and fail.
Right.
I eat a healthy lifestyle. And if I crave something, I have it. Or I find alternatives. Like if I'm craving chocolate, I often go for like a protein bar or something because they are high in protein, low sugar. It's a little treat or a snack. Or I make a lot of my own chocolate even and stuff with coconut oil. And, you know, for me, it's about being smart. There is a whole big world of internet out there with a million recipes. You can find anything you want to have a healthy version. Like I make burgers, I make pizzas, I make amazing Mexican food, I make
Taco
Indian.
Tuesday.
I cook for everyone. Come around.
Chocolate or cheese, if you had to give up one.
Oh, to give up one?
Yes.
Oh my God, that's a really tough one.
Ooh, hot seat.
Wait, if it was vegan cheese, I'd give it up.
If it was vegan cheese, well, it's not vegan cheese.
Oh no! Wow! No.
Are you stumped? Have I stumped
in a way, because they're so different. They satisfy different cravings in life. I would probably give up chocolate because there's other things I could have to replace it. Cheese is unique.
If you say you're giving up cheese, there's no more pizza. It's no more
burgers. I just eat cubes of cheese, like
the little blocks where the
but see,
mozzarella mixes.
Chocolate, you can make other alternatives of things. So yeah, I would say I'd give up chocolate over cheese.
Wow,
I'm shocked by that myself. So
toughie. That's a toughie. Shout out Diamond Hood Grown for buying that badge. Taking chocolate. Okay. Well, with you now, you said you were going to move to LA next year. This year.
We're speaking it into existence. This year, I am moving to LA. This year.
So I think, for one, that's going to be very easy as a lifestyle because, LA is just so open. So, lifestyle, they welcome all type of lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's kind of, a world of its own in America. But with that being said, what do you think will be the biggest challenge when you move to LA?
I go there a lot. I've been going there since 2006, almost every year. So I actually feel more at home in LA, and I have felt homesick from LA over Sydney. I've never felt homesick in my life. I'm quite I don't attach myself to a place necessarily. I left Sydney. I've never looked back. I've only been home twice in 11 years. I feel homesick from LA, the fact we can't travel there at the moment. So I don't know. The biggest challenge I think will be Maybe the business side of it. Like at the moment, I'm working on setting up my business there and applying for my visa to be able to work there. So if anyone's looking for a health coach or a nutritionist, hit me up.
Or a chef.
If you know anyone, let me know. But that probably will be it. It will be establishing myself as a business and getting people to believe in me in a world of LA that is saturated already. So I'm choosing to go to a place that I know is already saturated with health and fitness influencers, PTs, personal trainers, strength and conditioning coaches. I'm choosing to go to a saturated world and think I can still offer something different to people. And you've got to believe in your own source. Mm-hmm. And if you ever don't believe in yourself because you think there is other people out there in this world doing it, walk down the bread aisle in your supermarket and know that every person there still started that company knowing there's hundreds of other loaves of bread out there. Right. So my thing is never, ever, like, you know, there's a million female rappers out there and people can still make it to the top. There's a million artists. There's a million basketball players. Mm-hmm. So you always have to believe in yourself. So I think it's my biggest challenge, but my mindset is my biggest strength, that I know it's a saturated market, but I still believe I offer something very, very different to people.
And that word believe is, Diamond Hillgrom says she can't wait to get your book. She's about to get your book.
Thank you.
That believe, that word believe is very strong. It's very important. I'm glad you said it because I'm going to piggyback off of it. Because so many times people hear stories like this, but they're on commercials, they're on infomercials, and they're like, this is not real. I've tried everything, nothing works for me, blah, blah, blah. And like you said, going to LA where it's a saturated field and so many people have heard this, you can do it, but haven't done it. It's very hard for them to believe where to start, how to attack this problem, how to attack this challenge. Yeah. And I'm glad that you took the time out to share as a live kind of example, because so many people see, you know, the Subway guy and Jerry and all this, and they're just like, I'm not buying it.
Yes.
Or they see a commercial and it's saying, I lost this in 30 days, 60 days. And you're telling us now this is a lifestyle that you have to change. And It's taken you years. This didn't happen overnight.
Exactly.
So that's a very key thing that I want people in this live right now to take from it.
That's my thing. I'm very big about believe and achieve. Like, you have to believe it yourself and practice things like visualization, have a vision board, affirmations, speak things into existence. But don't just speak things into existence and pray for it. You've got to put some arse and effort behind your affirmations. You've got to do, I believe in making actions. You can pray for things all you want, but you have to match that with action. And the more you match it with action, the more the universe will open up things for you. And I believe that you can have anything you want in this world. If you can think it and you can action for it, it will come. And I did it moving from Australia to the UK with nothing. And I now have something that I'm going to LA with. So I feel I'm made for this. Like, I feel like I'm made for it. Like, I can do it.
You're going to do wonderful things. And like you said, you're like the quote unquote, like, everybody goes to LA with nothing. So you've got that out the way already.
Yeah.
You're going there with something. So it's got to be a piece of cake.
But it's interesting what you also said about people see infomercials and TV adverts and people. And it's really funny because I got that reaction when I first lost weight. I had someone walk up to me and say, I used to see, you know, in those Weight Watchers ads when the ladies hold up the trousers, or in magazines that you see the weight loss pictures. If someone came to me and said, I thought they've always been fake. I never thought someone could lose that weight. And she met me and she's like, oh my God, you've actually done it. Like, she couldn't believe it. She's like, I always thought that was fake. So when you see someone achieve something in life, it makes you go, wow, I can do it too.
Right.
So it's always nice to take inspiration from others. If someone else can do it, so can you.
Right.
So yeah.
And I think that makes people believe a little more when they actually see a person that has done it instead of seeing it on a screen or some you know, extent.
That's how I started my Instagram. I started just documenting my weight loss journey, and people were like, oh my God, this is a real life woman, 30 years old, working a normal job, you know, not some millionaire buying all these diets or weight loss surgery. And that's what happened. People were like, this is a real life woman. And I was like, that was God damn.
We're going to, since you're about to head to LA. All right. Anybody that follows your Instagram, a lot of people saying they're following you now in the comments. If they follow your Instagram, they'll see you have a lot of, you've been to a lot of sporting events. You rock a lot of jerseys. Now, before we get into this, I'm going to ask you, what type of fan are you? Are you the fan that just loves going to games and seeing good competitive games? Are you a fan that is a diehard? Like, I got this one team that I'm just a diehard for. Or are you a fan that I have certain players that I'm fans of, and wherever they go, I'm that fan?
So I'm actually like a mixture of all of them.
Oh, no.
Wait, so I'm a massive fan, not just for going to games. I probably watch more games than most men that you know. I watch almost every single game of the season. Okay. I watch every team. I love watching basketball. I find it quite exciting to see people's development, see teams in the season coming up that we didn't expect to come up. Wow. So I also do a basketball podcast with two other guys called The Extra Sports. So I watch a lot of basketball for that reason. And because I wake up so early in the morning, so 5 a.m. when I get up, all your basketball's just finished in America. Right. I usually watch them back, like 8 games. I can
binge watch.
Yeah, so, like LeBron has all them on in different screens. That's like me. But I tend to watch maybe the last quarter of some of the games I'm not so interested in. And then the teams I really love, I watch like half or the whole game. And I do cardio while I watch it. Then I also do have a team I root for. I am a Lakers girl through and through.
Perfect. Boy, it's perfect. You're going to LA.
Yeah. Growing up as a child, I did love New York Knicks and Chicago Bulls, obviously MJ. But I always loved LA Lakers because they matched the Sydney Kings uniform. It was purple.
Oh, Sydney Kings, yes.
And Dennis Rodman at the time, I think he came out to Sydney and did something with the Sydney Kings, and I loved Dennis Rodman. So I was always a Lakers girl, but I'll always have a soft spot for Knicks and Bulls. Okay. And then your third category, there is some players, but funny enough, I was never I love Lakers, so that made me like LeBron. Like I didn't follow LeBron from team to team.
Yes.
I was a Lakers person. But there is some players I'm fascinated by watching, and this could change in some years. Like I've always loved KD, I love Dame, but then there's a few like Harden, Kyrie, but then there is a few players each year that start to stand out for me, and then I'll watch their team because of them. Like there's certain players that I really love. Like I love watching obviously Jazz at the moment. They're doing amazing things.
They're playing really good.
Clippers, like I loved watching Houston when it was, Westbrook and Harden were, they're like doing really well. So there is certain teams I like watching over others. Portland Trailblazers I could watch all day long. They're the most entertaining team to watch. Yeah, Dave, my man. So yeah, but then like even Nets, like I love watching Nets. So I am one of those people that I do watch a lot of teams, a lot of players. But Lakers through and through, like
Lakers, purple and gold.
Purple and gold, baby.
Who's your? So I'm guessing if I were to ask you who is going to win it all this year, you're saying Lakers.
I don't know, actually. Oh. We talked about this on our podcast the other day, like who we think in terms of the power rankings. I don't know Jazz in the playoff. Like I think I'll make it to the playoffs, but we don't in a 7-game stretch. Lakers will always do well. And there's some teams that won't hold it. I think Jazz will. I don't know if Lakers will make. I hope they do. I still have faith in my team. It's going to be an interesting second half of the season after the All-Star break. So we shall see.
We shall see. Injuries play a big part in all of that stuff.
Yeah, and I feel coming back from this break, there is going to be a lot of COVID cases and things happening. So there's going to be a lot of players out. Some games.
It's in Atlanta. It's in hot Atlanta.
They're going to be out there partying in those strip clubs.
It's going to be, it was supposed to be in Indiana.
Yeah, I wanted to go this year, so.
And they changed it. It's in Atlanta. So this is going to be interesting to see, like you said, the after effects.
Yeah. Like we were saying this, like what was more important, the one All-Star day for the NBA, or are you going to end up postponing 12 games? Like what was more important to you in broadcasting rights? So
That's what's more important for him.
yeah, exactly. So players' health was not in consideration at first. So we'll see, but I definitely think Lakers will make it, obviously, to the playoffs. It'll be interesting to see who it comes down to in the East and West this year. Nets, they'll be
Nets
there.
look good. Nets look good.
They're playing well. They're happy. They play together. Devo KD's out at the moment, but Kyrie and Harden, everyone was concerned, or what was it going to do?
Yes, and I'm glad it's working because
I'm really glad
everybody was ready for it to not work.
So tonight is the first time Harden's playing Houston since he left.
You heard they're going to retire his jersey. What do you think? What are your thoughts about Houston retiring the 13?
I love Harden. I think he did a lot for the city, a lot for the team. It's a big call to retire that, and I think it's maybe them making a statement of how it ended with him. I think he was maybe more civil behind the scenes than the media made out. I think it's them showing their respect to Harden, right. Obviously. I think he's done a lot more than they realize now that where they are in the standings.
Lost 12 straight.
I am sort of shocked they are retiring it. But then again, he did do a lot for them, and they've now lost without him.
Right.
So, and I think maybe they didn't give him some of the respect in the last year or two, or they should have done a lot more for him to keep him and to make him happy. There was obviously a lot more to it we didn't see behind the scenes, but I think he did do a lot for them. I am sort of shocked they're retiring it though. But
yes, I think, like you said, I think it's more of a let's end on good terms thing, and we can justify retiring your jersey because you had some great, historical number of years here, with leading the league in scoring, quickest to 15,000 points and all that. So we can justify if someone says, why are they retiring it? But I think it's a little bit of both, like you said.
I think though
good terms. It's
a little too late in terms of showing respect or showing how much we loved you.
Right.
I think they should have showed this amount of love or respect to him in the last year and kept him. So yeah.
Okay, we're gonna open it up to some questions because just got a 2-minute warning on here. One question was...
Does it cut off at an hour?
I think so. This is new to me. Because I had one that was 2 hours the other day, actually.
I didn't think lives had a restriction.
Yeah, this one says 1 minute and 31 remaining.
If it cuts out, do we come back? Do you want to
go?
Yes,
we come back for sure. Diamond Hoodgrown said, do you drink moderately at all? Wine, alcohol?
Not really. I used to be able to drink most people under the table. I could drink 20
Most
cocktails.
Australians can.
Oh man, us Australians never challenge us to a drinking contest. Yeah. I used to drink and it would be cocktails. I'm not a wine person. My parents are. I grew up around wine. I love vodka. Any type of cocktail, I could drink them in seconds. But to be fair, I've had one drink this year. I'm not fussed by alcohol. It just doesn't really do it for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She's asked a lot of questions. Diamond, you're popping the questions out. Do you count your calories?
So I do talk about this in my book and how it can trigger some people and how some people it can work for them. I counted them roughly. To this day, I have never ever used an app to track. I do it roughly or in my notes in my phone. I don't do macros and micros. I think that's too much where you start scrutinizing
overwhelming, yes.
Yeah, do it roughly. For any type of goal, you need to be aware of what you are doing to be able to achieve something. Just like if you're doing savings, check your bank account. So if you are doing weight, you need to know what you're putting in your body and what you are doing output versus